graduate of UGA and Mercer University. He's an active member of GTLA, previously serving on several committees within the organization and graduating from the 2019 to 2020 lead class. So, welcome.
Woohoo!
Good afternoon, everybody. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all today, and I'm excited to share what I know about ChatGPT, because learning how to leverage this tool effectively can be a total game changer in the way you practice law and your workflows at the office. There's this talk, if you've never used ChatGPT before, this is for beginners. This will help you get started in thinking about how to use this tool. And there's a lot of information to cover today, so I'm going to move through it fast and I'll take questions at the end. My name is Michael Kaufman. I'm the managing attorney at Kaufman Law. We're a full-service personal injury firm here in Atlanta that handles a wide variety of cases, everything from auto torts all the way to medical malpractice, everything in between. We handle small, medium, and large cases. We handle catastrophic and do a really good job at it. There it is. You know, I saw Morgan Lindell in the parking lot, and she had some extra bottles of tequila. Good. I hope that this talk will help make your lives easier. So let's get into it. Here's what we're going to cover today. I'm going to tell you about what ChatGPT is and how it works. I'm going to talk about how to use it and how to think about using it. I'll get into the prompting, the inputs that you need to get the best outputs that you can. We'll have some fun. I'll show you some common applications. We'll do some case studies. I'll talk to you about what ChatGPT can't do, common pitfalls to watch out for, and if there's time, I'll talk to you about how to get started. So, what is ChatGPT? What it stands for, GPT, is Generative Pre-trained Transformer. I'm no computer scientist. I don't know what a pre-trained transformer is, but ChatGPT at its core is a large language model. If any of you guys are old enough to remember T9 predictive text on your cell phones, ChatGPT is essentially T9 predictive text on steroids. The way it works is OpenAI, which is the company that invented this software, has trained this model on a gigantic and ever-growing body of information. Basically, it has access to the whole internet up to a certain date. And what it does is it is trained to predict the next word in a sequence and extrapolate that prediction into what are essentially thoughts. It makes these predictions based on probabilities it learned while it was training on this large body of data. And so, for instance, if I input into ChatGPT, Mary had a little lamb, it is going to predict with a very high level of probability that the next words in the sequence that I want to see are, whose fleece is white as snow. ChatGPT's natural language backup, this ability to predict the next word in the sequence essentially allows for it to understand and respond in natural language, human language. So it understands colloquial English really well. It responds in whatever form you want. Colloquial English, very formal English, sonnets, prose, iambic pentameter. You just ask it to respond in whatever language you want, as long as it's English. I don't know how well it does with other languages, but however, the tone that you want, and it will do it. This means you can have a whole conversation with it, the same way you would as a coworker or a really gifted personal assistant. This feature makes it really fun to use and get the result that you want easily and accessibly. Later, we're going to explore some real-world applications of this, and they'll help you solve your problems more effectively. So, how you should be using it. What can it do for you to make your practice better? The first thing is eliminating friction. We all know that the hardest part of getting any draft put together is the first draft, actually getting the words on the page. ChatGPT allows you to eliminate that starting friction where you can start working from a draft that's already been generated rather than having to come up with the words yourself. You still have to edit, you still have to make changes, but getting that first draft out is the hardest part, and ChatGPT does that for you. Processing data. ChatGPT, because of its ability to understand natural language, is very good at synthesizing information. So an example I'll show you in a few minutes is you take a PDF of a transcript and summarize it, ask questions about it, and get the exact information that you want in a much shorter time than you used to be able to do it. It answers your questions. ChatGPT is a very good teacher. It can break down complex concepts into very short, easy to understand snippets that make learning any new subject accessible to anybody. And it's a really good problem solver. Like I said earlier, ChatGPT, you can talk to it like a human, and you can treat it like a really gifted personal assistant. And so you can go back and forth with ChatGPT and have a conversation, same way you would if you were on Instant Messenger, and solve your problems with a very smart other person on the other end of the conversation helping you. So in order to get the best outputs from ChatGPT, you have to put in strong, concise inputs. In computer science, there's this concept of garbage in, garbage out, or GIGO, which essentially means that the software needs clear instructions on what to do and how to do it, otherwise it's going to give you garbage. The more context, the better, so clear, specific instructions. One method that you can use to get a very good output from ChatGPT is this COSTAR method on the screen. COSTAR stands for context, objective, style, tone, audience, and response. The context, ChatGPT needs to understand why you are making the query in the first place. The objective, what exactly do you want ChatGPT to do? The style, you're telling ChatGPT how you want it to be done. The tone is, do you want it to be formal, do you want it to be informal, funny, whatever you want. The audience obviously is who is going to be reading the document that you're producing. And then response is another way to talk about formatting. There's other ways to prompt. You can give it a very simple prompt, like draft a letter to the client. Ask me 5 questions about the letter that will help you get started. So you've given it a very simple instruction, but it needs more context. You can tell ChatGPT to give you the context that it needs. So it'll ask you a question, and you can answer that question and get a really great response, really great document out of that. And the other one is having a conversation with it, refining your query. So again, you give it a simple query, it will give you, let's say it's a letter to a client. Draft a letter to a client telling them that their deposition is on Monday. It'll give you that first draft, and then you could say, make this more formal or make it friendlier. And it will rewrite your letter over and over again until you get what you want, and then you can work from there. I'm going to do an example of this, but before I do, this is an example of that COSTAR script that I mentioned earlier. What I did here was I had an hour and 10-minute long conversation with a client about their general damages. And when I put the transcript into, it's another program called Otter AI, which takes audio files, transcribes them really well. If you guys want the more information about that, come find me afterwards, and I'm happy to provide that for you. But you transcribe, you get a PDF, and you can enter in the PDF into ChatGPT with instructions like this, and it will give you really good information at the touch of a finger. So just going through it, the context here, I'm a personal injury lawyer. I sometimes have telephone conversations with my clients to discuss the nature of their non-economic damages. My goal is to capture the important elements of my telephone conversations. So by using this instruction, I've told it why I'm making the query in the first place. It now knows that I'm an injury lawyer and I have the goal of getting information from a client. How? So the objective, please generate a comprehensive summary of the telephone conversation with my client. Focus particularly on descriptions of how the car wreck and her injuries affected her life, past and future. Highlight key takeaways. Now it knows what I want it to do. Write a summary and make it detailed and highlight key takeaways. In the when I show you the example later, I also added in the jury charge from Georgia on pain and suffering. So ChatGPT, with that jury charge and the rest of these instructions, can pull out the specific items of damages, interference with normal living, loss of enjoyment of life, and it will peg each one of those in the conversation, in the transcript. It will point those out and highlight them for me. The style, present this as a professional note taker would. It now knows that I want this in a clear, concise, professional manner. I don't want it to be in a poem form or anything else. I want it to be usable by a lawyer. The tone, professional, concise, and clear. And the audience. This summary is intended for a personal injury lawyer who's drafting a general damages demand to an insurance company. So it knows that it can skip explanations of legal terminology or medical terminology because the reader is a personal injury lawyer and the reader is writing a letter to an insurance adjuster who also understands these things. And then the response, this is the format that it will put it in. So when I do that, I'll show you all an example. Let's see, I'm gonna go to ChatGPT here. And actually first let me, here's this, okay. The mouse is very hard to use on this screen, but I'm doing it. All right, so I throw in a PDF here. This is the transcript of that hour and 10-minute conversation I mentioned earlier. And then I already copied and pasted the instructions, that COSTAR method, I think. Nope. Oh, there it is. I hit enter. It now has my instructions in the PDF. And in about 15 seconds, it's going to come up with a full description, summary, background, general damages. See how it broke it out into the different items of damages in the jury charge. And it's just plugging along, look how fast it goes. So this is something, first off, transcribing a document. I know there's a lot of services out there, but when I was a legal assistant back before being a lawyer, that was a while ago, I literally had to listen to calls and transcribe these calls and, you know, play back, play forward, and it would take me hours to transcribe a call. Now I can do it instantly. And then summarizing a call. What used to take you hours going through a really long transcript, trying to pull out the most important information, now it is done for you, as long as you know how to query the system. Get back to, where's my switch? Is this it? Yeah, I think it is. And my notes. Would y'all believe me if I practice this and it's still hard with the switching back and forth screens and doing all that. I'm doing my best. All right, so here's some other common applications that are gonna be game changers for your practice. Document drafting. ChatGPT can help you draft all sorts of legal documents, letters to clients, pleadings, memoranda, and it does so in a way that is the most beneficial to your client. You just tell it what you need and it will do it. Here's one that I like showing. Let's see. Okay, pulling ChatGPT back up. start a new window. Okay. And what I'm going to throw in there is a police report. And it's really hard to see. Can everyone tell me which one I'm on? It's like impossible to see. Does that say police report
Yep.
right there?
Bottom one.
I'm on it?
Yeah.
Cool. This is an interactive presentation. Okay, so this is a police report from an old case. And I'm going to tell it, draft a complaint for damages in Georgia. And you see, like, I've got typos in there. I can not even see what I'm typing really because it's kind of far away. But it's going to give it to me anyway, even though I have typos in there. Pow, pow, pow. I don't know why it chose DeKalb County. I think it should have been Gwinnett County, but one of the parties is from DeKalb, if I remember correctly. And here's your complaint. I wouldn't file this just right off the bat, but it is a good place to start, and it's really helpful as far as saving you a lot of time. Look, negligence of the defendant. I mean, it knows all this stuff. All I told it was draft a complaint for damages in Georgia, and it took my police report and my very brief instruction and gave me like a really good starting place to draft the complaint. Some of the other things it does, it's really good for summarizing. That COSTAR method that I showed you is a really good example. And another fun thing about that is once you've entered in the PDF, you get the summary, and then you can ask follow-up questions. Show me everywhere where Ms. Maxson describes her lost earning capacity. And it will find that in the PDF and just talk about it and give you everything you want to know about that question. That makes it really helpful also for legal research because in addition to summarizing, it can also synthesize the information. So you saw in that COSTAR example that I made, I gave it the jury charge, and it took the facts of my case, those general damages facts that I got from my client, and just applied that to the law in Georgia, which is that jury charge, and synthesized it into a really usable, cohesive document. You can do this for a lot of other applications. It's a good way to develop legal arguments, although again, always check the veracity of what it's telling you, and I'll get to that later on in the talk. But another cool thing that it can do as far as legal research is teach you a lot. It explains things really well. So, got it. Okay. So, for instance, you're reading some legal document and you come across a phrase that you don't know. Just ask ChatGPT. I'm going to do, what is res ipsa loquitur? It's an old Latin phrase. Nobody knows what it means, really. ChatGPT does. It's a Latin phrase that means the thing speaks for itself. And it just breaks it down very simply gives you enough context, enough information for you to understand the concept without pile driving you with it and making it complicated. And then you can follow up. So you can say, give me an example. Here's an example of res ipsa loquitur. Imagine walking past the building and, let's say a barrel. Okay, that is the exact case that when you learn this concept in law school, the case that you study is where a barrel fell out of a window and knocked somebody on the head. And the idea is that the mere fact that somebody got knocked in the head with a barrel from falling out of a window is a prima facie case that the negligence has occurred. So it gave the actual law school example of this concept, and that's because it's been trained on such a huge body of information. Briefly, I'll discuss some other cool things that it does. Formatting, reformatting. I recently had a case where there was a waiver involved, and I asked the defense lawyer for the waiver before we filed suit. and she sent it to me in an Excel spreadsheet. And the waiver was in a single cell of this Excel spreadsheet. So there was like a 5,000 word waiver in a single cell on
She did it on purpose.
She did it on purpose, for sure. So what I did, it had no line breaks, it had no paragraph breaks, it was obviously a not usable document. I put it into ChatGPT and said, break this out into paragraphs and add appropriate headers. And pow, pow, pow. It just, it breaks it up. It's not the native format, but it is what my client would have looked at when they were signing this document online.